This camping trip happened last summer when me and my buddies, Tom, Lily, and Jake, decided to go camping in the creepy woods near Whispering Pines. Now, hold on to your marshmallows because this camping trip went from s'mores to scares real quick. We were pumped, right? Packed our tents, loaded up on snacks, and set off into the wilderness with nothing but our flashlights and some ghost stories to keep us company. The air was thick with excitement, but as we would soon come to find out, it was also thick with something else, something spooky. We found the perfect spot to pitch our tents, right by a babbling brook and under a canopy of towering trees. Everything seemed cool at first. We laughed, roasted marshmallows, and goofed around, but as the sun dipped below the horizon, things got a bit, well, weird. We started hearing these eerie sounds, like footsteps in the distance and low, guttural growls. Now, we weren't the scaredy cat type, but those sounds made us sit up and take notice. We laughed it off, blaming it on our overactive imaginations and the crackling campfire. But then, out of nowhere, the forest fell dead silent. No chirping crickets, no rustling leaves, just an unsettling quiet. We nervously looked at each other, wondering if it was some kind of animal, or maybe just the wind. Jake, always the brave one, decided to investigate. He grabbed his flashlight and strolled into the darkness. We waited, shivering, until he came back, wide-eyed and pale. He mumbled something about seeing shadows moving between the trees, but we thought he was just trying to spook us. "Probably just raccoons, man," I said, trying to lighten the mood. We tried to shrug it off and get back to our campfire sing-along, but the atmosphere had changed. It felt like we were being watched, like 1,000 eyes were boring into us from the shadows. Lily suggested we pack up and leave, but Tom and I convinced everyone that it was just our imaginations running wild. Big mistake. As we settled into our sleeping bags, the temperature dropped. It got so chilly that I could see my breath. That's when we heard it, the howls. Not regular animal howls, mind you, but these bone-chilling, hair-raising howls that made our blood turn to ice. The forest seemed to come alive with sinister whispers, like a secret conversation we weren't supposed to hear. We clutched our flashlights, scanning the darkness for any sign of what was out there. Tom joked that it was probably a werewolf, trying to lighten the mood. But deep down, none of us were laughing. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows. It was hunched over, moving with an eerie grace. Jake whispered, "Guys, do you see that?" We all aimed our flashlights at the figure, revealing a creature straight out of nightmares. A twisted, gnarled humanoid shape with glowing eyes that pierced the darkness. We froze, terror locking our limbs in place. The creature made this guttural, throaty sound that sent shivers down our spines. I kid you not. It was like something straight out of a horror movie. Panic was an understatement as we scrambled to our feet, abandoning our tents and bolting through the woods. As we ran, the howls grew louder, echoing through the trees. We didn't dare look back, too scared of what we might see. Branches snagged at our clothes, and our breaths came out in desperate gasps. We didn't stop until we stumbled into the parking lot, our legs trembling with exhaustion and fear. We huddled in our cars, eyes wide with disbelief. What had we just witnessed? Was it some kind of forest spirit, a creature from another dimension, or just our imagination playing tricks on us? We didn't have answers, just a shared experience that would haunt our dreams for nights to come. Word got around about our creepy camping trip, and the locals shook their heads knowingly. They told us about the legend of Whispering Pines, the ancient woods harboring spirits and creatures beyond our understanding. They said the howls were the voices of those who dared to camp in the wrong part of the forest. Our seemingly innocent camping trip turned into a heart-pounding race for our lives. And let me tell you, the next time someone suggests camping anywhere near Whispering Pines, I'm bringing a whole bunch of nightlights and maybe a priest or two. You never know what's lurking in the shadows when the sun goes down. Let me spin you a yarn about a camping trip with my better half, Megan, that went south faster than you can say ghost story. We thought we'd escape the daily grind for some cozy nights under the stars, but turns out the universe had other plans for us. I know for a fact that this tale will make you think twice before heading into the woods. It all started on a crisp autumn weekend. The leaves were doing their color-changing thing, and Megan and I figured it was the perfect time to escape the hustle and bustle. We packed our tent, some snacks, and a couple of flashlights. Standard camping gear, right? But we would soon find out that the woods had a creepy surprise waiting for us. We found this secluded spot, surrounded by ancient trees that looked like they'd been telling stories since before we were born. Setting up our tent felt like we were building our own little fortress against the world. The fire crackled, casting dancing shadows that painted the trees in eerie shapes. As night fell, we cozied up by the fire, swapping tales and feeling like the only two people in the world. It was all good vibes until the forest got quiet, unnaturally quiet. No crickets chirping, no rustling leaves, just a hush that felt like the woods were holding its breath. Megan shrugged it off, saying, "Nature gets quiet sometimes." But let me tell you, that quiet was more unnerving than any noise. As we sat there, Megan said she heard something, like whispers in the wind. Now, I'm no stranger to ghost stories, but this felt different. The whispers weren't coming from a storybook. They were real, weaving through the trees like the forest itself was trying to tell us something. Goosebumps crawled up my arms as I strained to catch the words. I figured that it was just the wind playing tricks, but Megan, always the curious one, insisted we follow the whispers. So, armed with flashlights and a dash of bravery, we ventured into the shadows. The trees seemed to close in on us, their branches reaching out like gnarled fingers. I brushed it off, blaming it on the spooky atmosphere. The whispers led us deeper into the woods and the darkness thickened. Our flashlights cut through the shadows, revealing twisted roots and twisted thoughts that crept into my mind. We stumbled upon an old clearing, where the whispers grew louder, swirling around us like a spectral symphony. In the center of the clearing, we found an ancient-looking stone. Carvings covered its surface, telling a tale written in a language I couldn't decipher. Megan, always the history buff, examined the stone like it held the key to the universe. That's when I noticed the shadows playing tricks again, forming shapes that made my skin crawl. As we stood there trying to make sense of the carvings, the whispers intensified. It was like 1,000 voices converging into a chorus of the damned. I felt a cold breeze, even though the night was still. The air crackled with an energy that sent shivers down my spine. Suddenly, the stone beneath our feet shifted, revealing a hidden trapdoor. Call it curiosity or sheer stupidity, but Megan and I couldn't resist the urge to open it. The trapdoor creaked open, revealing a staircase leading into darkness. It was like the forest had swallowed us whole, and we were descending into the abyss. As we ventured down, the air grew colder, and the whispers turned into desperate pleas. I felt like an intruder in a realm I wasn't supposed to enter. The stairs seemed endless, and I couldn't shake the feeling that we were walking a path that led straight to the heart of darkness. Finally, we reached the bottom, a cavern that felt like the belly of the earth. The air was thick with an ancient scent, and the whispers transformed into anguished cries. We found ourselves in a chamber adorned with symbols that seemed to pulse with a life of their own. Megan, enthralled by the mystery, traced her fingers over the markings. That's when the shadows came alive. Figures, dark and ethereal, materialized before us. Their eyes gleamed with a hunger that sent terror coursing through my veins. The whispers reached a crescendo, echoing through the cavern like a prelude to doom. In the flickering light, the figures spoke in a language I couldn't comprehend. Megan, captivated by the ritual unfolding, seemed entranced, but I knew deep down that we had trespassed into something beyond our understanding. The figures turned their gaze toward us, and the air thickened with a malevolence that choked the life out of the cavern. I grabbed Megan, shouting for us to run. We ascended the staircase, the anguished cries echoing behind us. It felt like the forest itself was rebelling against our intrusion. As we emerged back into the clearing, the trapdoor sealed itself shut. The whispers faded, replaced by the familiar silence of the woods. The night air was crisp, but the weight of what we had witnessed lingered. Megan, still in a daze, looked at me with eyes that held the reflection of the shadows we had left behind. We stumbled back to our campsite, the forest now a maze of uncertainty. The fire had dwindled to embers, and the trees, once silent witnesses, seemed to harbor secrets that defied the light of day. We packed up in a hurried frenzy, leaving the clearing behind. The whispers, now a distant memory, stayed with us, clinging to the edge of our consciousness like a ghostly echo. The forest, once a haven, had revealed its darker side, and we were just lucky to escape with our sanity intact. As we drove away from that cursed place, the moon cast an eerie glow on the winding road. Megan and I exchanged glances, the unspoken understanding of the horrors we had faced lingering in the air. The forest, with its ancient stones and shadowy whispers, had shown us a side of reality we were never meant to witness. So, my friends, if you ever find yourself tempted by the allure of the unknown, beware the whispers in the shadows. The woods may be a sanctuary, but within their depths lie secrets that defy the logic of the living. Sweet dreams, and may your camping trips be filled with starlight, not the haunting echoes of a forest's forbidden secrets. My loyal pup Max and I decided to spend a weekend in the woods. Now, I've always been a fan of the great outdoors, but this camping trip turned into a Wes Craven-worthy nightmare. We picked a spot deep in the heart of Pine Hollow. Tall trees, a small lake, and that crisp forest air. Max, a bundle of fur and excitement, was all in for the adventure. We set up our tent, got the fire crackling, and everything seemed just peachy. Night fell, and the stars started to twinkle. Max and I were chilling by the fire, trading ghost stories. But as we shared tales, a strange feeling crept in. It was like the woods were watching, waiting to unfold something eerie. Max, my ever-loyal sidekick, started growling at the darkness. I brushed it off as just a raccoon or something, but then I noticed the forest went dead silent. No sounds of nature at all, just an unsettling quiet that sent shivers down my spine. I decided to leash up Max and take a little stroll to shake off the heebie-jeebies. The moonlight filtered through the trees, casting long shadows that danced in the night. Max trotted ahead, nose to the ground, and that's when I heard it, a soft, distant whisper like someone calling my name. I shook it off, blaming my imagination, but the whispers persisted. Max, usually the fearless explorer, now had his tail between his legs, ears flat against his head. We kept walking, the whispers growing louder, weaving through the trees like ghostly fingers. I noticed a flickering light up ahead, and curiosity got the better of me. As we approached, the whispers turned into hushed conversations, like the forest itself was gossiping about something we weren't meant to hear. The light came from an old lantern hanging on a tree, casting an eerie glow on a weathered sign that read, "Whispering Hollow." Max whimpered, and I couldn't blame him. The atmosphere was thick with something unsettling, but being the stubborn camper I am, I pressed on. The whispers grew into distinct voices, echoes from the past, secrets carried by the wind. We stumbled upon an ancient-looking campsite, like something out of a forgotten era. The fire pit was still warm, and the tents, tattered and faded, told stories of a bygone camping trip. I felt a chill down my spine, realizing we weren't alone in Whispering Hollow. Max, sensing something off, started growling again. That's when the shadows seemed to detach from the trees, forming twisted silhouettes that danced in the lantern's glow. I squinted at the figures, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. The whispers turned into laughter, a low, menacing sound that echoed through the hollow. The figures, now clearer in the dim light, wore clothes from another era, old-fashioned hats, tattered coats, and shoes that clacked on the forest floor. They weren't human, not entirely. I could see through them, like they were specters caught in a time loop. Max barked, his fur bristling, as the figures circled us. Panic set in, and I fumbled for my flashlight, aiming it at the ghostly figures. But they were unfazed, their laughter mocking us in the quiet night. I tried to back away, but the figures closed in, their laughter turning into guttural growls. Max, my trusty sidekick, lunged at them, teeth bared, but he passed right through, whimpering as if something unseen had bitten him. The whispers escalated, and I felt a cold hand on my shoulder. I turned around, heart pounding, only to see a faceless figure staring back at me. It whispered my name, its voice a haunting echo from the past. I stumbled backward, tripping over roots as the figures closed in. In a panic, I grabbed Max and bolted through the forest. The lantern light faded, but the whispers lingered, chasing us like a ghostly wind. I could feel eyes on us, unseen hands reaching out from the shadows. Max whimpered, and I ran faster, my breath hitching in the cold night air. We finally burst out of Whispering Hollow, the moonlight guiding us to safety. I looked back, half expecting to see the ghostly figures at our heels, but the forest stood silent. The whispers faded, and all that remained was the sound of our own panting breaths. The woods that had seemed inviting by day now felt like a haunted realm, a place where time twisted and the past refused to stay buried. As we drove away, I could still hear the echoes of the whispers, a haunting lullaby that followed us until we reached the safety of the city lights. Max, shaken but ever loyal, curled up in the back seat, his eyes reflecting the lingering fear we both felt. One thing is for certain, Max and I won't be back to that site anytime soon. Thanks for watching. Don't miss out on more spine-chilling tales. Subscribe now for weekly scares. Hit that red button and join our journey into the unknown.